Hey everyone, Meinke here from MLive&apos, joined by Justin Rogers. Lions are back on the practice field Monday morning, and one more practice, Justin, and we've got our first preseason game already, which is kind of crazy to think about. One big developing storyline that we've had throughout camp and we'll have going forward is the tailbacks and the tailback competition. Lions were just 28th last year in rushing, released Reggie Bush. So it's a pretty wide open, I think, competition for roles in the backfield. We kind of know what to expect from Joique Bell, even though he's been out. But newcomer with Ameer Abdullah, Theo Riddick is always a hot name. You got George Wynn and Zach Zenner, fan favorite, competing for that final job there. Through a week plus now, Justin, what have you made of the competition at tailback?
I don't know how you can't be excited about Ameer Abdullah. The guy moves exceptionally well. Far better receiver, I think maybe we both anticipated.
And the Lions, they've said as much. I
yeah.
think the hands are maybe better than what they thought.
And we haven't seen him fumble. You know, I think that was the big concern. His hand size is what it is. They're not going to get bigger. Your hands don't grow. So the fact that he hasn't fumbled, and listen, I've seen defenders try to strip the ball away from him. He's been steady with ball security. I'm really excited to see what he's like once, you know, the live hits start. Beyond that, you know, the Zenner Wynn competition, you know, Wynn seems to have an exceptional lead. He's getting the first team reps. He's been playing the Joique Bell role as Bell is recovering from his injury. But I expect Zenner to get a lot of work in this preseason game, and I want to see what he's going to offer because I get a hard time reading what he offers in practice.
I think Zenner will get a long look because that's what happens with end of the roster guys, particularly early and late in the preseason as a team is trying to figure out exactly what it has before the reps start to really matter. I just, at this point, don't expect Zenner to make this team, regardless of how popular he might be. And there's always these camp favorites that develop, right? We saw that last year with Wynn, who actually made it. But a guy like Zenner, I just think at this point he's really far behind what George Wynn offers. Wynn looks like the harder runner, and he's also very valuable in special teams. We see him on several teams at this point. And as you said, he's repping a lot with the first team, you know, kind of filling in for that the Joique Bell role in the offense. So I think at this point his roster spot looks solidified. Of course, he has to continue to earn it throughout camp. But like what you see from Wynn, Abdullah is. I just want to say, like, he's just fun to watch. And I know I know a lot of fans. There's a lot of skepticism out there when the Lions drafted him. I know there was a Tevin Coleman camp out there when the pick was made, but I like the pick right away. And I think we're seeing now what the Lions saw in Abdullah, which is a guy with an exceptional first step. His burst is amazing, is really good, real fast guy. Maybe the top end speed's not there or something, so you know, maybe that's why his 40 wasn't exceptional. But on the field, he looks football fast. And I think he's going to have a large role regardless of what happens with Joique Bell's health this year.
Yeah, you say Wynn's a hard runner. If you hear one of those pad-popping hits that just sound different, you can almost be assured that it's Wynn running into a defender. I've seen him have serious collisions with Abdul Quddus. I've seen him run into James Ahedebo. And at the Novi practice in particular, there was a really brutal collision with him in the secondary. And when you see Zenner have those same collisions, it's Zenner that's going flying, as opposed to when when Wynn meets with somebody in the secondary, it's a more even matchup, or Wynn's going to continue trudging through at that point. One other backfield thing I really want to see is the fullbacks, particularly Michael Burton. It's a guy they drafted in the 5th round. You know, I think that kind of gives him the leg up on a roster spot. Although Ameer Abdullah has been pretty solid.
10 points,
as well.
By the way, for pronouncing that name.
I don't know if it was correct. I'm not going to lie.
It doesn't matter. 10 points still for
trying. Yeah, I doubted myself when I started. But Burton had a great practice today. He stonewalled Stephen Tulloch and DeAndre Levy in a blitz pickup drill. Levy got him later, but I can't express how difficult it is to stop Stephen Tulloch in this drill. In one-on-one, the leverage he brings, the handwork he brings, he's just a monster in that blitz pickup drill. And Burton shut him down, and that's really impressive. He also carried the ball a couple times, and then he showed those hands that we were kind of told he had coming out of Rutgers in catching a flare route today. So the big thing for him is going to be blocking. It's going to be run blocking. It's going to be pass protection, blitz pickups. But I want to see what he offers the offense as well.
I covered Michigan for a couple of years before this job, and Brady Hook used to talk about hearing football. you hear football when George Wynn is running the football. This is 2 straight camps now where he's had the loudest hit of camp. Happened last year as well. And it's part of the reason why I think he earned a job is just with how hard he runs. I think he's really impressed the staff with that. And so far through a week plus this year, it's been the same thing. The loudest, most violent collisions occur with Wynn. It's almost like he seeks out the contact sometimes. He's definitely not scared of it. So yeah, that's what he brings to the table. One back we haven't talked about is a guy who's been talked about quite a bit over the past year, which is Theo Riddick.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to see more from him. He's a guy I thought we'd see more from last year, particularly with the injuries at the position. We just didn't see it. At this point, he's well behind Abdullah as a rusher. I would expect the primary rushing responsibilities to go to Bell and Abdullah this year, just like it was Bell and Reggie Bush last year. I don't think you'll see it. I think he had around 18 or so carries last year. I wouldn't expect anything drastically different this year. But I do think the Lions are going to get him involved in the passing game because he's still an exceptional receiver out of the backfield. Exceptional receiver. We saw him make a really difficult catch in the scrimmage on Saturday, diving away from his body, heading to the ground, got the ball, kind of bobbled a little bit, kept his hands underneath it, pinned it. We saw the game-winning catch against Miami. He had a big catch late against Atlanta that helped set up the winning field goal. He's going to be involved. I'm just not sure if it's going to happen as a rusher.
Yeah, he had a rough day in the blitz pickup, but that's not his strength. He's going to be going out for routes out of the backfield. I've said all along, I don't buy Theo Riddick as a ball carrier until he proves otherwise. He's going to get carries in this game. He's gotten plenty of carries in practice with Bell down. That somebody's got to take the carries. It's going to be a nice opportunity for him to prove himself. And until he does, I'm going to continue to say that, echoing your comments, it's going to be Abdullah and the Bell show when it comes to getting touches in that regard.
The Lions do have Drake Bell back, and that's a guy we haven't really talked about much just because we haven't seen him yet. He hasn't taken a snap all offseason while he deals with Achilles and knee injuries from last year, which he had surgery on in January. I've poked around a little bit talking to people about his status. The impression I get is that there's no concern at this point that he's going to be that he's going to miss the opener. But the closer we get to that opener, the more you have to wonder about his stamina, his durability, his football shape, I guess is the best way to put it. I think he's a guy who could carry the ball 15 to 20 times a game, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen if he doesn't get his wind up. Because that's a difficult position to play. We all know it's probably in terms of your body and the beating you take, it's one of the most difficult in the game. And Bell is a guy who's been worn down a little bit the past couple of years. I don't know. I think he needs more practice before he's going to be able to carry the bulk. And if he doesn't get back soon, I think we're going to see more and more from Abdullah as the season opens.
Yeah, I think you can look back to last year where Bell missed some practice time during the offseason, and he just got off to a really sluggish start to the regular season. Didn't look the same, wasn't breaking tackles, which I think is a big calling card for him, is that he'll bulldoze a defender there in that second level. A slow start from him would be really detrimental to the Lions this season just because of the brutal schedule that they open with. They need that run game to be established. It's going to make everything easier for, not just the off, but Matthew Stafford in particular. So, we're going to continue to monitor that situation. I think it would be good for the Lions if he's back by the third preseason game where, things really start to uptick towards seriousness.
Yeah. Obviously, the running backs are important to a running game, obviously. But the offensive line matters as well. Just briefly touching on it because this video is getting long already. Briefly touching on it, I thought a very good day again from the offensive line and one-on-ones against the defensive line. Riley Reif has really stood out to me as well as to you. I like what I've seen from those guys. I think maybe the weak link at this point has been at right tackle. Cornelius Lucas had a better day today. He's had some ups and downs throughout camp. I think that's one spot we need to see shorn up over the next couple of weeks before the start of the season because I really don't think Waddle's going to be ready for that opener.
Yeah, left guard I think has been a little weak too. I've seen some holes filled there. I'd like to see.
Part of the problem is that Karan Reed has looked awesome. Right,
yeah.
He's really taken it to Manny Ramirez. I think in some of those one-on-ones.
And the linebackers, I think the linebacking group has been outstanding this camp, and rightfully so. I mean, with Levy, Tulloch, I think Whitehead's a better football player. Vinoy seems to finally be taking a step forward after kind of a sluggish start to camp. Even guys like Travis Lewis, are in the run lanes, making stops in the backfield. It's not what we're talking about today, but I do think that the run defense, which was historically good last year, is still going to be one of the top units in the NFL this year.
That's what we got. 28th in the rushing game last year from the Lions, but we both see promising signs that run game is going to be better. We'll get our first viewing on Thursday. More immediately, we'll be back at practice on Tuesday afternoon. So keep it right here at MLive for that coverage. For Justin Rogers, I'm Meinke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.